First of all, Nigeria's agricultural sector surged over 200% in 2024, which now are made it account for 4.44 trillion naira, which is up from 1.24 trillion naira as of 2023. So that is just 2024 data, and then it has done exponentially more than that in 2025 and now even 2026.
Agriculture and agro-export is already contributing majorly to our GDP. So we just need to do the proper documentations of what is going out and use it to feed in the data. And then government needs to engage more with active players on ground, have stakeholder engagement with them, know what their problems are, generate factual data, not imaginary data.
So there's some questions I'll just be asking you based on all of this data. And I'll also definitely let Vera ask some questions. I'm sure she does have questions as well. So first of all, based on this data, what is the future? What does the future of our agricultural sector look like from your standpoint as a player? Yeah.
So as a third generation farmer, like you know already, Nigeria stands to benefit a lot, especially because now we have Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement ongoing, and the support of Rwanda Airline, the support of Uganda Airline. It will make Africans trade with each other more, and then it's going to make then government can start looking at what moves from Nigeria to neighboring African countries. We cannot stop trade between countries, but we can monitor. And if we monitor, we can look at what the revenue is saying. All these data are lovely. They are beautiful.
You're welcome to another episode of Across Markets by Business 360. My name is Joy Abia, and today on the show, I have a very special episode for you. And before I get into it, I'm going to give you some very key statistics to help you understand the flow of this conversation. First of all, Nigeria's agricultural sector surged over 200% in 2024, which now are made it account for 4.44 trillion naira, which is up from 1.24 trillion naira as of 2023. So that is just 2024 data, and then it has done exponentially more than that in 2025 and now even 2026. So even also recent data for this Q1 2026 has shown that our trade imports, or rather our trade exports, has surpassed the trade imports volume, in terms of in the naira volume. And so we've done like a surplus of 7.55 trillion naira. Now, this is data. However, we have been warned that if we continue taking, using neighboring countries to finish or complete our export processes, we may be facing, we are facing a lot of there's not a lot of economic opportunities that our trade or export materials have. Anyway, I'm going to go into the show now. So with me, I have my co-host, of course, Vera Eze, and my very special guest, and I'm going to let her introduce herself briefly. Hi, Mrs. Helen.
Hi.
You're welcome to Across Markets.
Thank you.
Okay, do you just want to say a short introduction about yourself?
So my name is Omowunmi Helen Oduyemi, the Chief Trade Officer for Impact Hub Ibadan.
All right. Wow. Thank you so much, Ma, for joining us on very short notice.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm looking forward to this conversation. All right, so those statistics are very interesting. But before, again, this is on our poll section and we're giving you the most important statistics. But first of all, I want to ask Helen what she thinks about our current trade balance that I just read out, and it was also a warning. This is what we currently have. We've recorded a surplus in this first quarter.
Yeah.
However, we're also being warned that we still stand a chance to lose or either gain more if we don't cut out, the using neighboring countries to complete our trade processes. And I'm sure because you are you do export yourself,
Yeah.
you do understand what this means. So I'd like to, have you say something on that.
So for us in Nigeria presently, what we need to look at is how this matter in growing our GDP. Like you rightly said, agriculture and agro-export is already contributing majorly to our GDP. So we just need to do the proper documentations of what is going out and use it to feed in the data. And then government needs to engage more with active players on ground, have stakeholder engagement with them, know what their problems are, generate factual data, not imaginary data. And that's one of the things we are doing at Impact Hub, going to meet the people directly, asking what the pain points are directly, so that they can tell us, and then we can submit whatever we can collate and use it to support what government is doing.
Amazing. Okay. So I mean, we've known for a while that there was a time where we were centering oil in Nigeria. Oil was like the main thing,
yes.
But ever since the surge of the numbers that I had just mentioned, and actually there was even a time, I think maybe like 2 years ago, where I attended at a conference also, like I think it was an export import conference as well, which shed light into the fact that into all of the numbers that we're doing with like big with our actual, like our agricultural produce. And it was very encouraging to a lot of the farmers and those that do exports. And for me as well, who is not even a farmer myself or not even an exporter myself, but just being in that space and learning that let the noise not fool you. Like, we are actually like this non-oil part of our trade is actually doing really well. So anyway, I'm going to read another statistic, of course. Agriculture contributed over 60% of GDP and for 70% of export earnings. So the discovery of crude oil in commercial quantities triggered a decade-long deindustrialization of agriculture, a process sometimes called resource curse. By 2022, food exports accounted for just 2.8% of total exports, compared to nearly 90% of crude oil and gas. As of today, the export data is showing us that yes, agriculture is coming right up, and that's why we have Mrs. Helen in the studio with us today to give us deep insights into this sector as we break down where investors can be, interested, where investors should move at, what businesses should do, what consumers should also look out for, as well as what the government should be paying attention to. All right. So there's some questions I'll just be asking you based on all of this data. And I'll also definitely let Vera ask some questions. I'm sure she does have questions as well. So, first of all, based on this data, what is the future? What does the future of our agricultural sector look like from your standpoint as a player? Yeah.
So, as a third generation farmer, like you know already, Nigeria stands to benefit a lot, especially because now we have Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement ongoing, and the support of Rwanda Airline, the support of Uganda Airline. It will make Africans trade with each other more, and then it's going to make then government can start looking at what moves from Nigeria to neighboring African countries. We cannot stop trade between countries, but we can monitor. And if we monitor, we can look at what the revenue is saying. All this data are lovely. They are beautiful. But how Nigeria itself is benefiting from it, from, let's say we've done this trillion in Naira. Are this exportation done by Nigerians? Partly, it is no. How many SMEs participated in this trade? For example, let me give you an example about AGOA.
Okay.
Other African countries are benefiting from AGOA. Does it mean that Nigerian textile designers, fashion designers, fashion houses are not transporting locally made artisanal products, wearable arts to other countries? The answer is no. But are they documenting that process? The answer to is no. So if Nigeria is not documenting for traceability, we are losing out big time because the consumers are buying traceable products. They want to know which farm grow what fiber. They want to know who is the fashion designer. Like when you look at things like fair trade, global trades, when they mention things like that, they are concerns to the consumer. And then it means that any country that is aligning with what the consumer wants get the credits. Even though those countries who come buy from Nigeria repackage it as made in their country, which is not a bad idea. But if you are bringing it down, do we have the infrastructure to trace what is the outflow, what is the inflow, how much of this outflow are done by Nigerians? Because if these dollars keep hovering over our head, it doesn't impact a typical Nigerian person that is farming. It doesn't impact on a Nigerian that is an SME that needs access to fund, that needs access to finance, that needs to mechanize their process. When they are not making that volume, but the country is recording that volume, it means we need to pay attention to something else.
That's true. Okay. That was actually a very interesting one. Okay, so I do have some questions to ask, but I think I would reserve it for our later sections. So, before, I know that we have significant, agricultural produce as in Nigeria, but then we are still a nation struggling to feed ourselves. What do you think? Okay,
as a farmer, I'm always going in between as an exporter, as a farmer, and it's such a blessed position to be. And as an ecosystem builder too, I can understand from policy maker point, I can understand from what the farmers are experiencing on the farm, and then I can understand from what international trade is saying in the moment. So for us, it's a bit dicey.
Is it too expensive? Would it be too expensive within the nation?
So the farmers want to maximize profits. The local market have lower bargaining power, lower buying power. So the farmers will be like, okay, I want to sell, but then when I look at my cost of inputs, we call it economics of production. When I look at my economics of production, it's not tallying with the actual sales. And that means more farmers will be leaving the farm. If more farmers are leaving the farm because they feel it's not profitable, then we are not actually building a system that is sustainable. So the commercial farmers, they can farm in large acreage. They can mechanize their own processes. They have access to technology. So because of that, they are going to plant only for exports. Because you can't borrow to do large scale production and
sell to low.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to sell at a low price. So you look for the best, the best bet. Number two is that Nigeria needs to keep exporting. I tell people a lot in different conversations around country, even on social media space, and the want to ask me, what do I think? Why do I think so? I just want to say Nigeria need to keep exporting so that we can maintain international trade balance. It's not just about what goes on inside Nigeria. There are a lot of things. If you look at the Chinese people, so to say, they make sure that they are crusading their export everywhere.
Yes.
They just want to export to you.
Yes.
Even if you are going to buy it at their own cost price. Why? Because for your country to be recognized in the Committee of Nations, you have to have what you are contributing to the global economy. So it's not just Nigeria economy, our GDP. What are we contributing to the world? So we just need a balance of what are we actually consuming locally? How do we sort that from sustenance farming? Then how do we make sure that the commercial farmers are actually meeting up with the obligations of export?
Okay. So now speaking on like specific actual agricultural exports, we're going to do a deep dive into the sector and read out some numbers that are crucial to this.
Still on agriculture, we are moving and diving to our sector signal, which is the agriculture exporting in Nigeria, right? So, the agricultural export is the encompassing sector of baskets of different commodities like the tree crops, oil seeds, spices and botanical derivatives, right? But the leading commodity in these assets in 2025 or even still now is by value is cocoa, sesame seeds, shea butter, palm oil, and the likes of them. So now this sector is very, very deceptive at the moment and at this point. But underneath this growth line and all of these things lies a heavy concentration on harmful production of cocoa, right? With cocoa alone, it's accounting for about 24.61% of, the total non-oil exports in 2025, right? So, and cocoa beans and cocoa products generated about $906 billion in 2021 first quarter, million dollars in 2021 first quarter. And, Africa is, as at that 2025, Africa is the third largest cocoa exporter, right? And we also have cashew expansion. We have edible fruits and nuts like that contributed about $113 million in first quarter of 2025 too. And our key buyers are the Vietnam, the Malaysians, Netherlands, and France, Belgium. So now coming at the sesame surge and all of this, Nigeria ranks amongst the world's largest leading sesame producers, right? And export price rose at 42% and 42% in 2024 for the price of $2 million US dollars in 2024. And the demand on sesame seeds comes from, the Asian countries like the China, Japan, and, the likes of them. Now, I want to throw a quick question, right? Okay, so knowing how well, the exporting and the importing thing goes, right? We can see, we've seen that you export directly. You don't have intermediates or middleman people that run the export for you. How do you think we can scale through these, taking out the intermediate or the middleman that does the exporting? You do it directly to other nations. Okay. How do you think we can scale through this, doing it directly?
So for that, I say people forget that other countries are trying to get their own survival. Nigerians should just stop being the scapegoats. It's more like this is a playing field. Everybody will not be fair. Some people will want to cheat. Some people will want to play the game according to the rules. But that means there must be a rule that is guarding all of us to be able to say, this is the winner. This is the person that did not win. So, observing since 2018 that if Nigeria product is going to become competitive, we have to be in the buyer's space, in the front of the buyer. And that was what made me to start going for trade missions. When you go for trade missions, you are talking to the person that wants to buy from you directly. Either you are talking to their procurement manager or you are talking to the CEO himself, who is looking for opportunities or scouting for something to buy. So you don't need somebody rerouting your effort.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what we see happening in the farm, for people doing cocoa, cashew. So the surge in cocoa around last year, I told my farmers, because I run clusters of farms, I said, this surge, please use the money to start growing moringa. Once you are making money like this, start growing superfoods. They were like, Madam Helen, cocoa is selling. Cocoa, I said, I'm not buying cocoa from you. Cocoa is selling for now. Why? That's why I was talking about data, active data. Mm-hmm. Why do we have the surge from 4 million naira to 6 million naira, then to 11 million naira for a ton of cocoa? Mm-hmm. You should know that it means that is it that other countries just suddenly woke up and love Nigerians? No. Côte d'Ivoire cocoa had problems. So the demand, the supply cannot be met by another African country. Mm-hmm. So there is a trade imbalance somewhere else that favor Nigeria. Something like what is happening in the oil and gas industry for the past few months. There is an international problem happening, an international crisis. And that crisis happened to, in a way, favor Nigeria. Why? Nigeria's refinery, through Dangote refinery, is working in Nigeria. Mm-hmm. So if you go and look at the data of what our oil and gas is doing for some months back, you will see that we are doing well. Mm-hmm. But the reason we are doing well is because we now have buyers who are looking at our side because there is a crisis along the corridors that they buy from before. Mm. So we need to see this moment as God's provision. Yeah. They are not going to be there forever. So what should we be doing with, okay, there's a cocoa surge or cashew nut or any of our home commodity? We should know. We should find out what is going wrong in another place. When we now know what went wrong, we can now plan. We will now plan our own sustainability. Mm. Okay, for shea butter, the reason why shea butter price went up, jacked up, is because we have more demand, because consumers are now going into wellness in other countries, more into wellness. They want to eat more wholesome food. They want to take more wholesome skincare products. Mm-hmm. And so there is more of, I want to use natural skincare. Then some people that put on the organic mindset from Nigeria, who had relocated to other part of the world, they are influencing things there too. If you notice now, people are really, really wearing Ankara, wearing Adria abroad. Mm-hmm. It was not like that 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. So, migration is, we are selling our culture, we are selling who we are. We are sharing it with the world. And people are embracing it. So definitely there will be a surge.
But do you also think that we are gaining from, should I say, like maybe some currency devaluation thing? Like in other parts of the world now, maybe some things are, we tend to gain more because due to like the exchange rate. Because maybe let's just say in the past few, like, let's just say this regime, like when, the naira and naira to dollar surge, do you also think that was like a good time, or that has been like one of the things that has influenced the, the gains within the sector of exportation and all of that?
So for exportation, there is a bit of gain and there is a bit of loss, in the sense that if I want to buy from you the same commodity that Brazil has, and I'm just going to do $1 to whatever amount that is lower, there's a global market price for those currencies. Then I look at Nigeria price. I say, no, I don't want to buy from Nigeria. Then I go to maybe Abidjan and buy. I go to any francophone country and buy. So that's why I said there are some gains that we had, and then there are some major losses that we had because our currency. People wanted to trade in naira instead of trading in dollar, because they know if they route their money through another country, they can buy naira in another equivalent, not as high as what they need to convert their dollar into. Okay. Before, it was not like that. If dollar is at 300 naira, you just want to pay with dollar. You are not careful. You just want to pay. And when it gets to Nigeria, we can now calculate based on dollar. Now buyers are saying, I want to pay you naira.
Wow. Wow. Is that a good thing?
I don't think it's a good thing, because Nigeria needs the inflow
of the.
Do you understand? Of the foreign currencies. We need the inflow. That is trade. You understand? And that is why we have dedicated accounts for exporters, what we call NXP. And NXP is for exporters to be able to repatriate foreign funds.
Okay.
Now, if the foreign funds are coming as naira, what is the essence of that infrastructure? Yes. That's why I said we are gaining and we are losing on some sides, but we can put a balance to things.
Okay, I don't think I also asked you to make a comment on the fact that I think it was, I can't remember, Nigerian Economic Forum or so. I can't exactly remember but they were the ones that warned that we still work with this. Yes, we've recorded a trade surplus, but we might still decline and even further not realize much of our gains if we do not eliminate those using neighboring countries to complete the exporting process. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I want to say they are correct, and that data is true. If you are in the share value chain, for the past few years, we've been advocating that we want our corridors to be safe. We don't want people from other countries, neighboring countries, to come into Nigeria with trucks and buy share nuts. We want anybody that wants to trade with us to have documented processes. We don't want them to trade with our women in the forest.
Okay.
Because these women are local women. They don't know anything. They just go into the forest and pick those things. But it takes about 10 to 20 years for a share tree to grow and start giving you fruits. So it means that if we keep thinking we will always have it, and we are not planting more, and we are not getting more support, then tomorrow, another country that planted more will override us. Even though we had the best shea butter globally recognized, at least WTO woman, Okonjo-Iweala, she said that, Nigeria shea butter is one of the best globally, especially the one from Oyo State. When you now get to the base in Oyo State, you find out that most of the trees, people are cutting it. For what?
For construction.
To export.
Oh, okay.
They are cutting the trees. They are carrots. So they cut it. They burn it to make charcoal. When they make coal from it, they export. So government banned that export. We've been on that battle back and forth, because the easiest export you can do is charcoal. Europe will buy, America will buy, everybody's buying because you do the coal. So during winter, the prices surge because everybody needs it. But what tree? How much is Europe giving us to plant more trees? Now, should we cut trees that will take 10 years to grow? The 10-year on normally share takes 20 to 40 years. This 10-year-old is what NIOT had researched. After years of researching that, how can we make this thing, work? Now we have grafted ones. that you can plant within 10 years. Within 10 years, it starts fruiting. You start harvesting. So we don't yet have parklands, registered parklands in Oyo State. If we don't do that, we are going to lose out on organic certifications for the processors. If we don't have organic certifications, we are going to lose out in the next 10 years what the global consumers are asking for.
Actually, yes.
So that data is very correct. And I'm agreeing with it because that's one of the work we are doing. Trying to see what is the real problem and how can we be sustainable. The global consumer wants ABC. Nigeria have ADE. So how can we bridge this gap and say, okay, government, you are looking at this thing that we are selling, but we can sell this too. We can empower superfoods. So that if another country is growing more new variety of cocoa, we won't have problem. Because they are not going to wait for us. Other countries are going to go ahead and grow more things and start competing with Nigeria. That's why I started with everything is about survival. Every nation is looking for their own survivor. So Nigeria should just look at what can we do to survive and to be sustainable.
Amazing. All right. So now we're going to go into you. All right. We are featuring you on our show today. So I'm just going to do a brief intro on my guest, and then I will let her do a proper introduction from like giving us her background and her story on how she got here. So my guest is Omowunmi Helen Oduyemi, and she's the founder and CEO of Helen Genius Agro-Products Ltd. Limited. And she's a third generation farmer, agro-processor, international exporter to the USA. Her export portfolio includes cashew nuts, sesame seeds, cocoa beans and products, hibiscus flowers, that's the one used for zobo, ginger, shea butter, and she's trained over 500 SMEs. And she's an NEPC lead consultant, and she has 8 years of experience in exports. Hi, Mrs. Omowunmi Helen, once again. So, first of all, like, I want you to start with like your story of how you got here. Like, you said you started as a farmer, and now you've gotten into the processes of the value chain, the supply chain of the industry, the agro business industry. So I'm just going to let you first of all start from there. Your background. I always like to know what did you even study in school? How did you even get here?
All right. So this is just me, Helen. I started out as a farmer. Then I migrated to becoming a processor. Then I migrated to becoming a farm cluster lead. Then over time, I became an ecosystem builder, which is what I'm currently doing at Impact Hub Ibadan as a co-founder and as the present chief trade officer. And I do all of that easily because of my advantage growing up in the rural community in Osun State. I came from a Esauke town. And in that town, we are an agrarian community. So I learned a lot from my grandmother. My parents were kind of, educated, middle class educated people. My mom was a teacher. My dad was an accountant. Those time it's like the best of couples thing. So I went to Olatunde Memorial, which was a Montessori school in the 80s in Ilesha, Osun State too. But I noticed something. My grandmother is always having food. Why? Because she's practically with the farm. My grandmother does not run farms. I learned clustering from her. She managed people on the farm. She used her influence in Lagos to help her village. She has stores in Lagos. I remember coming to my 12, there's one they call Okoko Maiko. She has different K2 markets.
Yeah.
So I wasn't very skinny and very, very tiny during my secondary school days. But because if I follow a truck to Lagos, I can speak very fluent English. The Lagos people like me. They just want, because I'm a village girl, but I speak fluent English, so they like me. So they will buy her basket and give me top-ups. So when they buy, I bring in trailers of oranges, pineapple, banana, anything from the farm. She aggregates. She has Igbos working for her. She has plenty Hausas working for her. They will come from different parts of Nigeria and they will always be around her house. And she's always feeding plenty people. And she's always carrying plenty people to farm. Then she does something incredible. She will take from her money and buy your farm ahead of the harvest so that your son can pay school fees. She's particular about education. She wants almost everybody in my village to be educated. So she will make sure that, okay, your father had died, your father left, or your husband dies, the widow had the plantation, but nobody to farm it. She'll say, let your child go to school. When your child goes to school, your child will come back and manage the farms. But your child will manage it with better education. So at harvest, they will now pay her back.
That was a really good
They will pay her back with harvest,
yes.
not money. But they will use the money to pay school fees, maybe in a university or a polytechnic. And so a lot of farmers' children benefited from that program from her. So I learned it firsthand from my mom that aggregation is a thing and that farmers can have money ahead of their harvest so that they can do something. And that's one of the models that I run now. In all the things that I do is all about clustering, de-risking agriculture, making sure that whatever we are doing it together. It's Ubuntu. I'm here because you are here. We are all doing it together. And because we are doing it together, we can defend it together. We can hone it together. You have your parcel, then your parcel is beside my own, then my own is beside your own. Then 4 of us come together and solve your own problem. Then 4 of you come together, solve my own problem. In a way, we feel like we are helping each other, but at the same time, we are growing. And we are growing together. And that's the essence of clustering.
And is that the system that you'd say would, like, every thriving farmer or agro-business person should use?
Yes, the cluster farming system.
Is it popular?
In Nigeria, it is not popular, but it's gaining popularity now. I've been doing it for over 5 years, 6 years now. Before COVID, I've been canvassing for cluster and I demonstrated it through cotton production, through potato production, through different, just bring people together. And now we have a registered cooperative that is sorting that. So I don't really go one-on-one to tell people about it. But now it's becoming a thing that people are now talking about. I run a cluster farm. I run a cluster farm. And I'm happy because I'm one of the few people that started it in Nigeria. I learned it from my grandmother. So I can say I am here because she was there. She's going to be with the Lord now, over 10 years ago. But she's the reason why I tilt to agriculture, because I see what she does solving many problems. Not just one problem, solving communal problems. And I know that today, if a lot of those people that went to school then did not go to school, maybe that town will not exist again. Because they will become nuisance. But because they went to school, they were able to become better person, contribute better to the society, and grew the community better. So I believe that agriculture can become a bedrock for development. So I went to Ladoke Akutala University of Technology. I studied science laboratory technology.
I mean, that works.
I studied science laboratory technology and I specialized in physics electronics.
Wow. So that means this one was like, because you knew you were going to go into
farming.
you were going to need these skills, because these
No,
these
my
didn't
mom
work.
wanted me to be a medical practitioner because I'm always scoring good grades in school. So she wanted me to be a scientist, and I'm like, okay, it's my mom. So I was like, okay, let's go there. And I can read. So I was reading and scoring the marks. But then in the house, I'm always farming. During Babangida Abacha time, there was a long-term strike. And that left a profound mark on me. So we're living in a community in Ilesha, they call the place Buris. I don't forget that time. There was no food. People don't have money. But my house have food. Because we have uncompleted building. And because my mom was not going to work, and we had the experience of farming, so she was just like, Helen, let us go into the farm. We were like jobless. There is nothing to do. She's a teacher, and everybody was on strike for months. So we started planting habanero, planted tomatoes, planted this and that. And before you know it, not only me, she had other people join her, but we were able to save a community at the time of need. And since then, it has never left my heart to stop planting something. We were able to save people. Nurses were there, doctors were there, MDs of corporations were on that street because it's the eyebrow. People that know Ilesha, they can confirm. Buri is an eyebrow area. It's just like you are saying Ikoyi of Lagos. And that was where I grew up. Now, people were practically hungry in their house because they can't even go out. There's no kerosene, there's no gas. Everybody is using cobalt. Like that time humbled everyone. Then I remember that I would take from the harvest of my farm one bucket and knock people's door. I was very tiny 8-year-old girl. Then I was saying, my mommy said she can't give you every week throughout that street. People don't care that they used to be millionaires. People no longer care. People just want to eat. And that gave me a signal growing up that there must always be food. And I know that most times, it's only my grandmother that is always, I'm sorry, I don't usually go to people's house. So I don't know, maybe other people's grandmother used to have food. I only know that my grandmother will have goats. She will have tinko. She will have, so when she's coming to our house, she's always packing bags. If we are going to our place, we don't pack anything. Because we don't have all those. So I said, my grandmother is richer than my mommy. Just that childish concept of, but I grew up to find out that it is true. After my university, I asked my mom about her salary. She was almost retiring then, and she told me what she was earning. And I said, no, I don't want to earn that. If I earn that kind of stuff, she told me, I beg to apply. She told me how to do the resume. I said, my mommy, I don't want. That is pride. You have to start somewhere. Work in OAU. Work in UCH. When she finished advising me, I always to look for one farm. Because I felt like we just have this empty space. And then I will make maybe that time 100,000 naira. Then I will use that 100,000 naira to go and buy food that is 200,000 naira. Are you kidding me? You people don't do mathematics. You taught us in basic mathematics that your supply, like what you are earning, should be more than what you are spending. Yeah. But then you people go and work to buy the things that you can grow. Do you understand?
To you, it was not.
To me, the math was not just mathematics. So that was it for me. And over time, I started expanding the space until I became the techie lady farmer. Then when we go to farm, we use drones. When we go to farm, we use satellite imagery and all that, and all that.
That's amazing. Like, it's truly inspiring to hear. So thank you so much for sharing your experience, like your story. This is very, very inspiring to me, honestly. I don't think even though my parents used to say I've been on the farm, I used to be on the farm, but now it's like, where's everybody? Nobody's there. Nobody's there again. So it's truly inspiring. But so I just like, you said like this, you continued here because you birthed as like this, should I say this journey was birthed as a result of the problems that you're able to solve. So it's not just, let's just say it's more than the, even though the money did come, right, it was definitely more than that at the earlier stage. So I want to like ask like how evolving into like that profitable part of it now came. Like, where was that point where it's like, now we've been doing the norm, feeding people, doing the you learnt all the skills and then you moved up to tech and all of that. But what was that turning point that you'd say for you as an agribusiness person, that it's flipped, because now you do export to the US, you have no middleman, like maybe you want us to walk us through all of those processes that you flipped in your business that made you who you are today and like brought you to where you are today. Yeah.
So the flip happened in 2019 when I did a USG alumni exchange program called Academy for Women Entrepreneur. Okay. So I was AWE01. They used to call me ancestor.
Interesting.
Because 2019 was the first batch. They used to call my set ancestors. So I am 01 of the AWE ancestors. During that course, I learned that I was not actually applying the entrepreneurship model. So we did an entrepreneurship course called Dreamwork. And Dreamwork is owned by Thunderbolt University in the US.
Okay.
So when I did that program, it opened my eye, because earlier before then, during President Jonathan's regime, I'd gone on scholarship for business school. So that shaped me into, I want to do business kind of. But I wasn't looking at how profitable is the thing I'm trying to do. Then I was doing more of advocacy, giving stems of improved variety cassava to farmers, trying to educate people. And I was doing that. Only few organizations can just say, Ellen, take. I want you to continue what you're doing. Just as if people were just looking at me like, this one, I'm not serious. But let us just, don't let our passion die. So they were giving me money, but it's not sustainable, because you can give me this month and not give me next month. So I was just doing that. But when I went for AWE, I learned about structures. Then I started structuring my process. Then I fully registered for Nigerian Export Promotion Council. I started going out to learn, going for trainings, going for actual. And because I was practically going out to learn, it's about training. It will start drawing you closer and you start learning more. Then I got opportunity to be trained by International Trade Center of the World Trade Organization. That blew my mind. I had access to a lot of data, a lot of information. I had a trade map to myself. I can navigate which country did I want to trade, what product are they buying, how are they buying it, what is their preference before going to that country. So I majored on US, US, Dubai, and then partly Europe. So part of Europe, I started studying and going deeper. Then I now have to go on physical trade missions to those places and know what do people there. That is the first thing that brought me to the awareness of what is the language of my consumers. Because even if the distributor takes it from you and the consumers are saying we are not buying, it will end up in the stores.
Yes.
And there's something we call the 90 days gap in retail. If your product does not sell in the store within 90 days, they are not coming back to you.
Right.
They will only struggle to sell it. All these global brands, they do it. They will struggle to sell it, but that's all. They pay you your money, you are gone. You are no longer on their shelf. So what are you going to do? How are you going to package it? What information do you need? That is the exact thing that brought me into profitability. I started learning the process step by step. And I don't mind paying for hand holding, paying for export readiness, doing a lot of checklists is my business. At the time, I got to know that my business was a philanthropic business. So you have to, it's a lot.
Yeah.
You have to face reality. You have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, there's a part of me that wants Nigeria to grow. But at the same time, I'm giving out a lot of knowledge. I give out time to train people, and I'm not making money. So how do I keep sustaining that? So I started charging for my classes, my courses, my hand-holding classes. I started charging. Then I started seeing that diasporans, most of them, they don't even know. They don't even know about international trade. They are living in another country. They have what they can take from Nigeria. But they don't know they should be trading. You know, we are going for trade mission. We are leaving Nigeria to go. But you are living in Dubai and you are not trading. Like, are you okay? So that led me to another kind of like making income from there. Because I started telling diasporans, no, you can't keep your credit card doing nothing. You don't need to have money if you are living abroad. You have credit card, right? You can use the credit card to pay in my NXP. Just do wire transfer. Get as if you want to buy something from someone. The same way you bought your television from China, you bought your car from Germany. Purchase moringa leaves from Nigeria with your card. I will sell to you because you can use Flutterwave to buy from me. So you go to my website, you buy with your credit card, then or shea butter or something. I can pick products for you when you come in. I can pick what is selling in your country. Then you can set up your Amazon account by yourself, and then we do the listing for you. Then you have your own company in that country, even though you are working in that country. That way you are representing our country very well. How dare you go to another country and be directing us?
Oh my God. So, which means, first of all, exposure plays a big role.
Very big role.
Then technology as well would pave the way for the next generation of, agro-business, people. Thank you so much, Ma, for sharing that with us. All right. So, the last question I want to ask you is, with the AFCFTA. So we've been, on the show, we've been going over like the, some of the developments that we give on the show is based on the, I think I've also been doing some writing on it as well. So on the new, their new commitments and yes, basically the things that they are doing to help, intercontinental trade. So I want to ask what you think, what you see coming out of this move.
So, I'm part of the women that was selected for a showcase by WTO, and Nigerian Export Promotion Council did the invitation and all that. And I know that all the AFCFTA protocols were discussed in that program. But something interesting happened. I had, I said I trained diasporans.
Yes.
So I had this client from Rwanda who was interested in export, and someone said, oh, the person that can train you, Ellen can train you. And I said, okay, let me put her on board. So while training her, while I'm holding her, I gave her the protocols for Rwanda. And I said, go to the Rwanda custom office. Show them you want to bring in XYZ from Nigeria, which is the country of origin. Because export is all about custom borders. That's what people get wrong about export. They think export is just buying and selling. Like you go to Idumota market and sell in Oshodi market. No. Export is understanding the export, the custom borders of the other country and honoring it.
Okay.
So I told her, go to your customs and do this. And lo and behold, she traveled from where she was and went to the major states. And the custom officer said something very shocking. He said, who taught you? He said, because this protocol had not been finalized in our country. So he said, but we have it, but it's not on our system. That was 2 years ago. he said, I'm going to, all the tariffs that are the waiver tariffs, that is what you are going to use for you. But you have to document it here with us. You have to ask, she now asked me for the pictures and the HS codes of what is coming in the container so that she can submit it to the customs so that they can do the waiver for her with the AFCFTA protocols. Because what we call protocol means those agreements.
Yeah.
So if the same thing played out during AGOA, so we should just avoid the cumbersome thing, make sure that every customs across the agreements have it on their database so that they can apply it. You know, that custom officer now is properly trained to listen to his own clients or to people that came for inquiry. Or yes, if it's somebody that is aggressive, he does say, it's not on our system. It is not there.
Yeah.
I don't know about it. But he took his time. He said, oh, madam, this thing is not on our system. He said, but see, it is Africa. Then the man went back. He said, oh, we have it, but it's not updated on our database. He said, but because you have come to request for it, he said, even Nigerians don't really request for those things. He said, but because you have come to request for it, we will update that information on our system. So I believe that AFCFTA is a lot and we can do well across Africa with it, but then we need to carry our customs. We need to remove the bottlenecks. That's just what it is.
Okay, I have a question for you. This is quite deep. All right, so Nigeria, we export cashew nuts to other countries, and when it gets to their country, the raw commodities, right? They process it, now reselling it back to us ×3 and even ×5 of prices and all of those things. So the question now is, do you think the future belongs to the countries that produce the raw commodity or the ones that process and brand them?
Okay. So because we have a lot of MSME in Nigeria that is trying to solve that, the future belongs to the countries that process and brand.
Okay.
But there's a place for equity. Equity is what Europe is trying to achieve, where you have fair trade. If somebody grows something, at least they have good life.
Okay.
Because they chose to be the basic provider. So whatever profits you are making, something is called corporate social responsibilities, which you are supposed to now do to the community that is bringing the raw produce out. For Nigeria, that is on low scale, companies to companies, B2B. But when it comes to nation, every nation is trying to survive. Nigeria just have to come up with a bolder strategy. Government need to sit with people that have the experience and the expertise and bring out real-time solution, not political solutions. Because in the next 20 years, our children that have gone diaspora are going to come back home. Now you have a lot of our people marrying Europeans, marrying Americans. When those children come here, they are American citizens, but they are Nigerian citizens. You are not going to throw them away. We have that now happening with what we call like black soap, for example. Because I deal in a lot of variety of products, I can speak to this product. For example, black soap, we have you don't know how to process black soap. But then we don't teach you how to process black soap. Then our daughter came to your country, then you married our daughter, then our daughter's daughter came back home. She's our daughter. We will teach her black soap. But do you know one thing? She's not 100% our daughter. She's going to take the knowledge of black soap production, the artisanal knowledge, and take it back to her father's country.
That's true.
So everything we are trying to gatekeep, we can't keep gatekeeping them. Okay, we are not going to teach you Ashofi because you are not Yoruba. Then our son married your daughter. You might not learn Ashofi, but your son will know how to weave ashofi. So the same agenda, if people believe that the West have an agenda, we are tending towards fulfilling that agenda if we are not doing the right things.
Wow. Thank you so much. Honestly, I really enjoyed this episode because I remember, like I said, I remember when I sat in a room filled with a lot of people. It just throws light to the fact that there are just like still a lot of people who believe or who are invested in the process of agriculture as well, because there is so much, still a lot of potential, but then I think maybe a lot more, like a lot of Nigerians who also want to make a living out of this, need to start to think a lot more, think like a business, not depending on what the nation would do or trying to maybe build the nation or be the one to feed the nation. It may not be possible like that, especially in the agribusiness going forward or in the next coming years, even though yes, agriculture is going to be like a huge part of projected growth according to the World Trade. Exactly. So I said, I really enjoyed this episode and I really do appreciate you coming on. So just before we wrap up this episode, because this is a wrap already, I just need you to give us maybe some things to look out for within the industry. How, for example, people who just want to put in their money, like investors, businesses who want to push into do more for their businesses in agriculture, whether it's through tech, financing, or all of that. And then the average consumer in Nigeria, how they could be maybe a part of something that just push the sector forward for our growth.
Thank you so much for that, because it's like the apex of all of my story. What I do presently at Impact of Ibadan is to bridge all of these gaps that I've mentioned and much more. And anybody that wants to invest, anybody that is into policy making, anybody, I believe that they are just a DM away from the solution they are looking for. Sometimes people are in the dark space. You might have the privilege of being a policy maker or being in governance, but then you don't have the first-hand experience of why farms fail. You might be a farmer and you feel like, oh, the exporters are cheating me. And you don't know what it takes for somebody, the risk involved to carry product from Nigeria to another country and still meet up with the timeline. So, and we need all of these people in the same space. And that is what we are doing in Impact Hub. We want everybody in the ecosystem to work together so that we can achieve for our country. Because it is when we grow together that we are actually growing as individuals.
That's true.
So that's what I would say to anyone. I'm on LinkedIn, Omowunmi Helen Oduyemi, CTO Impact of Ibadan, CEO Engineers Agro Product Limited. People can always reach out to me. I'm always available. Not always available, but I'm very available. I'm just a DM away. I'm more functional on LinkedIn.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Can I throw a practical question to you?
Please do.
Okay, let's take, for instance, you're into what you're doing and run us through how you go about the farming, right? Then exporting directly to other countries, other nations.
So exporting directly to other countries, first you look for your buyer, you go for trade missions, which Impact Hub is now organizing for people to enjoy that kind of impact. You go for trade missions, you negotiate, you go hard with your samples.
Okay.
But before you do that, you get into export readiness. Impact Hub over that now as a service. You go into export readiness, you do your checklist. You look at where your company is at, what your company wants to do, what product are you pursuing, what do you have access to in your supply chain? Because as an exporter, you're actually doing trade supply. So you look at what your own backward integration system looks like. Are you going to engage farmers? Then you can network with farmers on our platform. Are you not talking to farmers at all? You just want aggregators. Then you sign up of taking agreement with aggregators. once you sign up that, definitely they are going to be supplying you products. You just have to be paying them.
Okay.
And once you pay, you can package, document, and export. I cannot underestimate the power of documentation, because that is 80% of where things get wrong. And once it goes wrong on documentation, you have lost the money. So if anybody lose, let's say, sesame, let's say you are doing 1 million naira per ton, and you are doing 30 tons inside a 40-foot container, that is 30 million naira going. So if you do 5 containers, that is 150 million naira gone down the drain.
Wow.
And you cannot retrace that money. You cannot access that money again. You will even pay the other country. I still have a case on somebody exported to Dubai, and one of the investors called me to wade in. And I was like, oh, I told them to consult for $5,000. They said they are going to get back to me. Fortunately and unfortunately, there is a documentation I wanted to tell them. For example, in some of the things I had said earlier, how do they perceive things in the other country? In China, if you tell the Chinese people that you are doing a non-disclosure agreement, they don't understand NDA in China. It is American and British that use NDA. There is another legal system that Chinese people, but now we Nigerians, we understand non-disclosure agreements. So if you take somebody to court in China and the agreement between you is an NDA, you have lost the litigation before you start. So adequate knowledge of what will they accept and how do they operate in that country
Is important.
Wow.
is important.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Across Markets. We do hope that you enjoyed this episode as much as we did, right? And thank you again to our guests for
Thanks for
coming on the
calling.
show
Thank
and
you
for
for
throwing
inviting
so
me.
much light and insight into this industry and all of the statistics, helping us make sense of it. So I do hope that you enjoyed it. Please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. And join in the conversation. Leave a comment on this video if there's anything that you found interesting, and that any comments or any questions that you'd like to ask our guests, you leave it in the comment section. Again, my name is Joy Abia, and
I'm Vera Ifechuku.
thank you once again. See you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.